The invitation arrived on a thin cream envelope, the kind that tried too hard to look expensive. When Amelia Rowan opened it, her hands trembled, not from excitement, but from a memory she thought she had buried years ago. Ethan Cole requests the honor of your presence at his wedding. There it was, Fojilros, his name. The man who once promised her forever, then left her with nothing but silence, debt, and 3 heartbeats growing inside her. Amelia let out a quiet breath and looked around her small apartment. The paint was peeling near the windows, the sofa was secondhand, and the heater rattled like it might give up at any moment. This was the life Ethan had once mocked, the life he wanted her to feel ashamed of. She knew exactly why he had invited her. Not out of kindness, not out of closure. It was cruelty dressed as courtesy. Ethan Cole was marrying into wealth, and he wanted his guests to see how far he had risen and how far she had fallen. What Ethan didn't know was that the story hadn't ended the way he believed. Years earlier, Amelia had met Ethan when they were both struggling. They were young, hopeful, and foolish enough to believe love alone could solve everything. They married in a courthouse ceremony with borrowed rings and dreams larger than their bank account. For a while, they were happy in a tiny apartment that smelled of burnt coffee and hope. Then life pressed in. Ethan chased success with an obsession that slowly pushed Amelia into the background. He grew bitter about money, angry at failure, ashamed of poverty. When Amelia told him she was pregnant, fear flashed in his eyes instead of joy. When the doctor confirmed it wasn't 1 baby, but 3, Ethan's fear turned into resentment. He left 2 weeks later, no goodbye, no explanation worth remembering. Just a note saying he wasn't ready for this life. Amelia cried for days, then stopped. She had 3 reasons to keep breathing. The pregnancy nearly broke her. Medical bills stacked up, complications came one after another, and there were nights she lay awake, terrified she wouldn't survive. But she did. And when the triplets were born, 2 boys and a girl, Amelia held them close and named them Leo, Noah, and Grace. They were tiny, fragile, and perfect. Ethan never came, never called, never sent support. He vanished into the world of ambition and money, while Amelia rebuilt her life from the ground up. It wasn't easy. She worked multiple jobs, learned new skills at night, and refused to let bitterness define her. There were days she wanted to scream, days she wanted to give up. But every time she looked at her children, she remembered who she was fighting for. Years passed. Quietly, steadily, Amelia grew. A small freelance job turned into a consulting contract. A contract turned into a business partnership. A partnership turned into her own company, one focused on ethical investments and community-driven development. Amelia didn't chase flashy headlines. She built real value. She invested smartly. She surrounded herself with people who believed in integrity, not arrogance. By the time the triplets turned 6, Amelia Rowan was no longer poor. She was powerful. The wedding day arrived under clear skies and polished marble. Ethan stood at the altar of a luxury venue, wearing a tailored suit and a confident smile. His bride, Vanessa Whitmore, came from old money, family connections, corporate influence, prestige. The guests whispered about deals and stock prices, not love. Ethan felt triumphant. Then the hum of an engine rolled across the courtyard. Heads turned as a sleek black limousine pulled up, its surface gleaming under the sun. Conversations died mid-sentence. The driver stepped out, opened the door, and then she appeared. Amelia Rowan stepped onto the stone path with calm elegance. She wore a simple, perfectly cut dress that didn't scream wealth. It whispered confidence. Behind her, 3 children emerged, identical smiles, sharp eyes, and unmistakably Ethan's. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Ethan froze, his heart slammed against his ribs as recognition hit him like a blow. The children. The way they stood tall, the way Amelia held herself, not broken, not ashamed, but unshakable. Vanessa leaned closer. Who is that? Ethan swallowed. My ex-wife. And the children? Vanessa asked, her voice tight. Ethan couldn't answer. Amelia walked forward, every step measured, every breath steady. She wasn't there for revenge. She was there because she refused to hide. When Ethan finally found his voice, it cracked. Amelia, you came. You invited me, she replied evenly. It seemed important to you. The triplets stood quietly, curious but composed. Leo watched Ethan with thoughtful eyes. Noah looked around, unimpressed. Grace held her mother's hand, calm and observant. Kinian, Ethan began. Our children, Amelia said. Viftian, your triplets. And silence fell like a curtain. Vanessa's smile faltered. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Whispers turned sharp. Ethan felt his carefully constructed world wobble. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, panic slipping into his tone. "I did," Amelia replied. "You chose not to listen." The ceremony stalled. The officiant cleared his throat, unsure what to do. Ethan's parents stared in shock. Vanessa's family looked furious, not at Amelia, but at Ethan. Then something unexpected happened. From Rowan Development Group, Amelia nodded politely. The man smiled. "I didn't realize you were attending. Your company's work has been extraordinary." More recognition followed. Names Ethan knew, people he admired, people he needed. They spoke of Amelia with respect. Ethan felt small. Vanessa turned to him, eyes blazing. "You said your past was settled." Ethan stammered. "You abandoned her," Vanessa said quietly. "And your children." The truth hung heavy in the air. Amelia looked at Ethan, then really looked at him. The man who once had all her love now looked like a stranger, fragile, exposed, and afraid. "I didn't come to ruin your wedding," she said. "I came because I won't be erased. Our children deserve the truth." Grace tugged Amelia's hand. Mama, can we go?" Amelia smiled softly. "Yes, sweetheart." She turned to leave, dignity intact, children beside her. But Ethan called out, desperation breaking through. "Oh, wait." Amelia paused. "I was wrong," he said, voice shaking. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." "I know," Amelia replied. "I lived it. She didn't forgive him. She didn't curse him. She simply walked away." The limousine doors closed, carrying Amelia and the triplets back to a life built on resilience, not resentment. The wedding never resumed. Ethan stood alone in a room full of witnesses to his failure. Not of wealth, but of character. Months later, Ethan tried to reconnect. He asked for meetings, for chances, for forgiveness. Amelia allowed him one thing: accountability. She didn't rebuild love, but she didn't block responsibility. The children would know their father, not as a hero, not as a villain, but as a man who had to earn his place. Amelia continued to rise, not to prove anything, but because growth had become her nature. And the lesson echoed long after the wedding whispers faded. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never assume someone's struggle defines their worth. And never believe you can shame a woman who survived what was meant to break her. Because sometimes the one you invited to humiliate you arrives not to fight, but to remind the world who truly won.